the first sources of energy used by mankind. It goes from cooking on small home stoves to the large quantities burned in big restaurants like this barbecue place.
Aqui num dia normal, aqui mais tranquilo, a gente costuma usar na faixa de 100 a 120 kg de carvão por dia.
And the huge loads that feed the blast furnaces where a significant amount of Brazil's steel and pig iron is produced. One full rig like this carries about 100 cubic meters of coal, and this plant needs around 20 loads per day for its operations. It was because of pig iron production that Brazil has become the largest producer of charcoal in the world, even if production has significantly decreased in recent years, along with the drop in international metal prices, which only began to recover last year. Blast furnaces own eucalyptus that travel in these trucks for about 300 kilometers to the iron plant. Metal Cedars director Afonso Braga Filho says it's important for the company to produce their own charcoal.
Vegetal sendo próprio, nós temos a origem desse que possa ser juntado com
or taking advantage of very loose environmentally reduced, as the crisis took off the market many of the smaller and more destructive.
5% do seu total. Vai abrir uma estrada, vai construir alguma coisa que realmente vai haver corte de árvores nativas.
Here in the state of Minas Gerais, steel and iron makers are forbidden by law from cutting any native trees to make coal. So many companies have their eucalyptus plantations. These trunks that you see here, for example, have been removed from this area and new trees have been planted. This one, for example, has been planted about 30 days ago, and it takes 7 years for them to grow and to reach that size to be ready for cut. During the 7 years of growth, the trees of a managed forest are also absorbing carbon from the atmosphere. According to Brazil's iron and steel industry, this is enough to totally offset the emission of greenhouse gases when the metals are processed using charcoal rather than coke coal in the furnaces. The grown trees are then harvested by these machines that pick up half a dozen of them at a time as if they were flowers in a bouquet. After the harvest, the trunks are cut in regular chunks and loaded in these furnaces that are then lit. Forestry engineer Evaldo Alves is responsible for overseeing the charcoal production.
Hoje a gente trabalha com esse forno retangular, que é de 26 metros de comprimento, 4 largura e 4,5 de altura. Temos 16 dele, em plena atividade, que produz esse carvão que vocês estão vendo aí e que a gente manda para o setor siderúrgico da própria empresa Metal Cedars.
In these furnaces, the wood is transformed into coal, and this is how this works. The wood is put inside the furnace. It has to stay there for 5 days at 300 degrees centigrade while it becomes coal, and then the furnace is cooled down for the coal to be removed. Romário here is just taking the temperature. Let me ask him, qual a temperatura é agora? So it's 90 degrees right now, of course, below the 300 degrees, because this furnace is already being cooled down and it will take a few days for the coal to be ready. Let me ask him, quantos dias mais ou menos então para o carvão estar pronto aqui?
8 dias.
Yeah, another 8 days then. The charcoal is then loaded onto the trucks for the long trip that will take it to the blast furnaces further south. As for the smoke that it leaves behind going up in the air, there are researchers looking for creative ways to use it. When the wood goes into the furnace for coal production, only about 1/3 of all that biomass Brazil's charcoal industry has been responsible in the past for much damage to the environment and has been accused of serious disrespect of labor laws. But over the last few years, a combination of private investment, tougher laws, and the decline in the market made a lot to improve the situation. If this trend remains, Brazil could have in the charcoal a sustainable and renewable option for its energy mix.